You're listening to Rebel Spirituality with me, Sam Goldfinch. Here's the truth. Wisdom doesn't follow rules. So each week we're going to explore what it means to wake up your way so you can live a more peaceful, creative and inspired life no matter your circumstances. It's time to blaze your unique path to truth. Hey Rebel friends, so today I'm super excited about this because we're talking about a topic that's really close to my heart. What's the point in spirituality? Like, what are we up to? Why are we doing this? And I can't wait to dive into that with you. But very quickly, before we do, if you didn't know, I'm taking part in a men's retreat in Thailand in February next year. And all of the details for which, if you go to the bottom of the show notes, I've put all the details for that. Basically, what we're going to be up to, why it's going to be powerful. If you're a guy and you're looking to do something different and you're looking to kind of find out some new stuff about yourself and lean into all of the things that we talk about on the podcast here, it's going to be an awesome opportunity for you. So go down to the bottom of the show notes, take a look, and there's a link there to all sorts of different information, and just reach out and let me know if you want to join us. I'd love to have you there. All right, here we go. Without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to me. So what is the point of spirituality? Like, why are we doing this? What are we up to? I know that for me, when I first got into spirituality in air quotes, I was 17 or 18. I read The Power of Now, as many of you will know, and it was a total game changer for me. It completely changed my life. But what I had absorbed in that moment, and this was from me, this wasn't necessarily anything from the book, but it was just the idea that I was going to live in this heightened higher state forever, and I would always be at peace, and my feelings would kind of settle, and honestly, that I would be able to transcend certain feelings. So anxiety and fear, which was my flavor of scaring myself. That's what I always used to love to do, was bring some form of anxiety into the system. And it really felt like it was relatively constant to me. I look back on that and I know that there were breaks in that, but so I know this isn't true. But as I looked back on my life, it felt like anxiety was something that had been kind of ever present for me. So the promise of finding something that would be able to get rid of that forever was super powerful for me. But what I didn't know is that that's a control paradigm. What that says is I'm going to do a series of things, either meditation or reading or practice or whatever it might be, and I'm going to attempt to control things so that I don't ever have to feel them. So I'm going to transcend anxiety, I'm going to transcend sadness and all this kind of thing. And to me, that's not what this is about. It's not what this is about. Any kind of control, if you think about it, is a form of resistance. So at some level, I was afraid of my experience. I didn't want to feel my anxiety, so I would push it down. I didn't want to feel sadness, so I would push these things down. And in doing so, those things actually remained in my system. Now, I thought I was getting away with that for the longest time, and I didn't realize that there was kind of bypassing innocently happening. And what I mean by bypassing is there were times in my life where grief or sadness or what would have been not just a wise decision, but really the deepest, most authentic and loving experience for me, like the beauty of those feelings and knowing the inherent safety of them. That's what I didn't know. So I was still running away from certain feelings. I was still bypassing certain experiences and saying to myself, I don't need to feel these things. Like that human part of me, those human feelings, like what's the point in those? They're just this nuisance, right? What I can do is hang out in the Godhead, hang out in the oneness, in the truth of everything, and all that other stuff. Like I don't need to kind of pay attention to that kind of stuff. And I think that is the feeling in a lot of spiritual circles. And for me, one of the things about rebel spirituality is seeing the beauty in all of it, the divine nature of all of our human experience and the spiritual experience. That, like seeing how there's no separation between the two of them, actually. It is from the formless dimension that all of our human experience bursts into life, and we get to experience the beauty of feelings. And as Sid Banks said, he said, if the only thing that people learnt was not to be afraid of their experience, that alone would change the world. And that's kind of one of the ironies, because when we don't have resistance to what's happening, when we know that we're psychologically safe, when we can see that our feelings aren't here to hurt us or harm us, they're energy moving through the system, we don't resist them. We don't try and control them. And so they find their own natural expression because there's nothing there to resist them. What we resist persists, right? Well, why is that? because it isn't given its full expression, like a dam, like the water building in a dam. And then, at some point it will burst and then we put another dam back up, right? But actually, what happens if we just let the water find its natural course again? Well, nature does what it's supposed to do. It finds new riverways or it's, there's edges to this metaphor, of course, but we can't be harmed by our emotional storms, right? Many of us have believed that we can, and I thought that was true for me. So for the longest time, the point of spirituality was to try and cast away some of my humanness and hang out in these higher spiritual states all the time. But it's really flipped for me. I see it so differently now. For me, the point of spirituality is to be so vibrantly alive that I can welcome everything, that I can deepen my understanding as to how my experience is being created, which, as a beautiful byproduct, means that I tend to hang out in dysregulated states much less often. They pass through me because I'm not trying to control them. That is a byproduct, but it's not a goal. It's not like and my goal is to live without any anxiety or anything like that. It's just, it makes sense, right? The dam wall isn't there anymore, so the water just has its natural flow. And for me, that humanness that we have, the gift of feelings, the gift of sadness, the gift of grief, the gift of happiness and all these things, whether it's at the level of emotions or whether it's the deeper aspects of our being, all of these incredible gifts that we get to experience, the whole thing, that's amazing. As humans, sometimes we're fucked up and we're a bit all over the shop, and sometimes we just are the complete opposite to that. And sometimes that can happen all in the same day or all in the same hour, right? All in the same minute. But isn't that incredible? And the more we learn to love that experience, the more we see that's so powerful. So what used to be me attempting to practice again and again and again through meditation, trying to control my experience, right? That has flipped for me now, because I now see how understanding how my experience is created, dropping resistance, loving what's there, being in my highest potential in the moment, which is to be vibrantly alive, to be able to feel everything, to give every emotion and feeling its fullest expression, and then it will hang around as long as it was designed to hang around for. Putting as little story and as little bullshit and as little belief on top of all of that stuff, and just allowing things to have their natural expression and luxuriating in those higher transcendent states when they come, and not making it into a big deal when I notice that there's other energies inside of me, and just continuing to love all of it and look in that direction. That to me is the point of spirituality, so that we really can no longer be afraid of our experience. So we can really live into the fullness of our being, the richness of our being, to just see it. Because the truth is, who and what you really are, it sits behind all of our feelings and our thoughts. Who and what you really are witnesses the whole thing. And you have the gift of being able to watch these movies play out. But the moment that these movies shift from something that we fear can harm us and hurt us and take us down, that we need to control, to something that is just a gift that's there to play out, it looks really, really different. And as we start to understand the deep spiritual principles that sit behind everything, we take our thinking less seriously, and we just naturally find ourselves living in these higher states more and more. So they're not goals. They're who you are. You are well-being, right? It's not a goal. It's not something you're trying to achieve. It's already there. And the more that you sit in the now and don't make your emotions or your feelings into problems, the more readily you'll touch it. I hope you have the most amazing day, week. I'll talk to you soon.